I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would the secretary call the roll, please?
Chair Machin,
Here.
Vice Chair Ebley,
Here.
Commissioner Durr,
Here.
Commissioner Earp, Commissioner Gallagher, Commissioner Jones,
Present.
Commissioner Liang, Commissioner Lopez, Commissioner Quill,
Here.
Commissioner Gallagher, Commissioner Liang, and Commissioner Lopez are excused. We have quorum.
Let's see, would you administer the oath for anyone who wants to speak, please?
Those wishing to speak, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you are about to give before this body will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do. Thank you. You may be seated.
There is no need for a closed session. The consent agenda will be next. Consent items are considered routine in nature and may be enacted in one motion. All public and non-public hearings will be opened at one time. Any item may be discussed separately upon request of a member of the Planning Commission or member of the public. Do we have a consent agenda?
Yes, Chair and Commissioners. We have 3 items on consent and one which we would like to add. The first item on consent are the minutes of the October 14th, 2017 meeting, and staff is recommending approval. The second item is an extension of time for an existing tract map to subdivide 5.14 acres into 43 residential lots. The property is located at the northwest corner of Foothill Boulevard and North Terrace Road. Staff is recommending approval of that for a period of 1 year. The third item is also an extension of time 17-09, and it's extending an existing subdivision map. It would subdivide 55.76 acres into 94 single-family lots. The property is located north of Myers Road, and it's on both the east and west sides of Little League Drive. And then we would also like to, so those are items 1, 2, and 3 on the agenda. We would also like to add item 4, and that is a conditional use permit 16-19. It's a request to develop and operate a service station with a convenience store at 3451 West Kendall Drive. Staff is recommending that that item actually be continued to your next meeting, which is January 9th of 2018. So we are recommending approval of all 4 of those items.
Mr. Chairman, I will have to abstain from item 4 on the consent calendar, as I have an interest in that project.
If I may add something also, Chair and Commissioners, on item number 3 involving extension of time 1709 for tentative tract map 17-329, did want to point out that on the resolution, page 6 of the attached resolution, there is a condition number 20, which states relative to the Vertimont Trail System. Simply states that the Vertimont Trail System shall be brought into this development with the Class 3 bike and trail along Vertimont Drive and access to the pedestrian equestrian trail system through an easement along Little League Drive and adjacent to the residential project, consistent with other trail segments in this area and subject to planning staff review. As you know, there is a trails master plan that's been in the works up there, and this condition was brought forward. It was last year when we did an extension of time, and so again, we just want to make sure that I just wanted to point out that we are remaining consistent with that, and that condition is included.
Chair.
Yes.
For Commissioner Queel, for abstaining on purposes on number 4, you say that you have an interest in the project. When you abstain because of a potential business interest is what I'm assuming,
Yes.
you need to state the general nature of that business interest as well.
Okay, well, I would like to state then that we are working with the contractor to manufacture the signs for that project.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Is there anyone wishing to speak on any of the consent items? I see that we have a request from one person for item 3. Mr. Mitchell, would you like to speak? Thank you. Yes.
A developer. And, but there's a couple things on this project that the Napa Sonoma Santa Rosa fires brought to my attention, and I'd like to bring it to yours, and hopefully it gets looked at and considered. I mean, I can't make anybody change, but one of the things they learned in the fire system up there is these projects that are built into the hills, when the fire's coming at them, they had to escape through the fire. There was no other route. On this project here, we get fires from the hillside coming down, and in their layout of their project, from Ohio. Ohio doesn't quite reach Little League, but just before Ohio, it turns right and goes uphill towards the fire, where a fire would come from, and or flooding. And I was just wondering if there's any way to mitigate that out. It just, after what we saw happen up there in Northern California, it just kind of worries me. The other thing is, any projects from this point on in the Vermont area, especially when it comes to Myers Road or Vermont Road, makes another demand on water. And it's no secret, water's a shortage up there when it comes to pressure. Myers Road, the very top in the 3900 block of Myers Road, there's only 25 pounds of pressure. Open one of the hydrants at the bottom, there's no water. The same way goes with Skyline Project. They have to have a pump going 24/7. So any project above Vermont is going to need pump pressure because the tank won't support it. Now I know that originally the GFR project here had a couple tanks scheduled for way up in the, I think it's a 2,800 foot altitude. But until that water is installed, it's pretty hard to feel comfortable that if any demands made anywhere else in newer projects, it's going to take water away from existing infrastructure, which is another word we use up there, infrastructure. We're not seeing any specific plan or development towards infrastructure improvement to receive these projects. And it's not like we're against the projects. I've always said, and I've told you before, I like smart development. And if the infrastructure that we have now that is so stressed or near collapse is overstressed by more projects, especially in the drainage, the hydrology, we have a severe drainage problem up there. Myers Creek drains 9 canyons and all the alluvial. When that alluvial in the 9 canyons is in good percolation order, we don't have a problem with a 4-inch in an afternoon rain, and we get 4 inches in an afternoon on a good squall. But you turn that over to rooftops, driveways, and streets and sidewalks, they're all targeting Myers Creek. Part of the Beezer project, which will be DRC tomorrow, is going to flow into the Magnolia drain, which is only a 30-inch drain. It's not capable of handling Vermont Heights and some of the other projects up there. That'll have to be redone. But Myers Creek is a choke point right at Belmont. It's something, I live right there, and I've seen it flood after the fires. And if you convert the waxy surface of the hills to rooftops, driveways, and sidewalks, that's going to flood. And properties were damaged. Little League, you've seen those baseball that are out there along Little League. They not only serve a decorative purpose, but they're also a deterrent to the mud flow because they got mud in their pool after the fire. The roads flooded, went in their pool. They had a mess to clean up. So those balls are actually dual purpose, not for the flooding, but they will work really well for a deterrent for mud flow or water flow. Hopefully it's clean water coming off these homes, not mud. But water, drainage, and fire, those things, just if planning department or DRC, if you will just keep that in mind when it comes to these projects, to mitigate it out or work with it, because we're down below all that. That's it. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just had a brief comment. It seems to me, these are very good points. And when we are renewing applications or in our, the rewriting of the standards, I hope we are looking to make some improvements. It's pretty apparent over the last 10 or 20 years that the old standards for development up near the foothills really aren't adequate for fire protection.
I've read Mr. Mitchell's report on infrastructure for that area, and I've seen the pictures of the culverts that you mentioned that get plugged up with mud. And I'm wondering if there's ever been a master plan of drainage worked up for that area, the whole area.
The the County Public Works Department has been working with our Public Works Department to address all of the flows in City Creek. So obviously all of this ultimately drains into that area. So that is something that is being examined. There has also been discussion of a Bergamot-wide specific plan that would look at all of the issues that Mr. Mitchell talked about and more. Traffic, obviously, is one of the big issues in that neighborhood. Regarding the fire issues, the fire codes have changed fairly significantly, particularly with the last update to the building code cycle. Now all new single-family residential need to have fire sprinklers, and additions, if you're adding more than 500 square feet to I believe the threshold is 500 square feet, you need to add sprinklers to the entire property. So there are some conditions that the developer, the builder of those homes would need to meet. Any changes to building code or fire code, they need to meet current codes. Conditions of approval on the tract map go back to the date of the original approval of the tract map. So the Commission's ability to add new conditions is really limited. Under an extension of time, it's just, are we extending the map pursuant to those original set of conditions? But building code and fire codes, they do need to meet those, if that answers the Commission's questions.
Well, I guess in part, the other part is if we're approving an extension of time, you're limited in what you can do. At some point, does it become unwise to keep approving an extension of time when it should be maybe developed to a more recent standard?
There is a limit. Yeah, they can't go into perpetuity. So yes, both under the city's municipal code and under state law, there is a maximum number of extensions that can be granted. And I don't know where this one is. I don't know if Oliver or...
This is the second extension. So actually, the map was originally approved in 2006, and there's provisions in the Subdivision Map Act of the state that the legislature has enacted over time that allows for automatic extensions without going through a process, and you may have seen those on other extensions. And so, there's been a series. So they have been granted extensions. And this particular item, this would be the second extension. The city's code allows for up to 3 extensions, and this is the second of those 3 from the development code. Is it 3 or 4?
Would you clarify one point on that? I believe the state's maximum period is 6 years, isn't it?
That's correct.
But they've had 2 extensions?
This is so the 6 have been exhausted. The state extensions have already been exhausted.
So that's what, 12 years?
So that now they're 1-year extensions. 2006 was the original approval. And so the original approval was for a 2-year period. And then each automatically extended 1 year after that per the MAP Act.
So in the event, when it comes time to develop that property, since it's been in the process since 2006, do we revisit some of the new floodplains or some of the new codes changes when they finally start construction?
As it relates to the construction, we won't have that ability to change the map itself. So the next step, once they get the extension, what they're trying to do is trying to get to a final map. And a final map doesn't come back to the Planning Commission. That goes to the City Council for approval. And that's worked out through the engineering department, through our land development department. So they work out all the details with the street improvement plans and grading plans and those kinds of things. One item that does need to come back for this particular item is a development permit, and that addresses the homes that are actually going to be constructed on the site. So you will see this project one more time as a new application relative to what are the homes that are going to be constructed there. And so that we'll look at the site design, the square footages of the houses, or the single, double story, what construction, and on those the conditions as Director Persico had indicated, we will reiterate that there's a certain, it's in a high fire zone, which has certain requirements that you have to comply with in terms of construction. It'll make note of whatever you have to comply with the current building code, and so at that point, we can examine maybe some minor things as it relates to the construction, how it's going to be constructed, how it's designed, and how it interfaces with each other. But I don't believe there's an opportunity to change the land design or the lot design, I should say.
Can I ask if this project were to be submitted under the current development criteria, would it be significantly different, or would it be pretty much?
I don't believe so. I mean, the development code has not changed for a while, around the same time period.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wishing to speak on any of the consent items? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar, which includes items 1 through 4.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion carries. That brings us to item number 5. Do we have a staff report?
Good evening, Commissioners. Yes, we do. My name is Michael Rosales with the City of San Bernardino Planning Division. Before you, we have item number 5, which is conditional use permit 17-20. It is a proposal to allow the establishment and operation of a social services outpatient recovery center in Lynn Valley within an existing building approximately 1,700 square feet on 0.26 acres located at 955 North D Street in the commercial office zone. Here we have a location map showing the applicability of the project in the right zone. We have the aerial map. The Inland Valley Recovery Services is a nonprofit organization providing affordable cost substance abuse recovery and counseling program services, including detoxification, outpatient treatment, and individual and group counseling with focus on patients between the ages of 12 and 18 years of age. The operating hours would be from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Tuesday through Sunday only, with no residential component involved. There would be a total of 6 employees, 5 full-time employees working 4 days a week, 10 hours a day, and one part-time employee. The floor plan includes 3 treatment rooms, 1 office, and 1 waiting room. This is the existing site. There is existing landscape. On-site construction would be pertain to the repaving of the parking lot and restriping of the parking lot. There is existing security fencing surrounding the area. This is on-site looking northwest. On-site looking northeast. You can see the landscape that is there. This would be the existing security fencing surrounding the property. This would be the existing site plan. The elevations of the current building. And our recommendation would be Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2017-072, adopting the categorical exemption and approving conditional use permit 17-20 based on the findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval. I'm happy to answer any of your questions, and the applicant is also here to answer any of your questions if you have them.
Yes. I have a question. Can you go back to that northwest picture? Yes,
Yes, sir.
there. On the, which would be my left side, is that residential there in the background?
Yes, sir, it'd be residential medium.
How close is that to that?
It is
Facility.
actually abutting the
It's
commercial.
right abutting
office.
to
Yes,
the
sir.
property. Have the residents been notified of this?
Yes, they have, sir.
I have a question for the applicant, if I could. Good
Commissioner,
evening.
my name is Bill Christopher. I'm here on behalf of Inland Valley Recovery Services.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being here. Can you go into some detail of what the Recovery Center would entail as far as their program for us, please?
The primary program for this building is essentially assessment and referral. It will take in people who make an appointment to come visit to the center. There would be people on staff who would do an assessment of what treatment program is required and then provide referrals out to other locations for the actual treatment itself.
So there would be no treatment at the facility at all?
Tina, you want to come up and respond? This is Tina Hughes, who's the general manager of the Inland Valley.
I'm actually the CEO for Inland Valley Recovery Services. And this particular site, the 955 site, will be specifically for adolescent services. And they'll be doing groups and individual services there. We'll also be doing assessments and referring out. We don't do inpatient or residential at this particular location. We currently operate the property next to it with a conditional use permit, so this is an expansion of our services.
And what, do you do the same thing at the property next to it?
The property next to it does adult services. So we're trying to separate the adolescents and the adults so that they're not doing
And
services together.
there's no therapy, there's no treatment, there's no
Yes, they do.
prescriptions at all at this facility?
No, we don't do any kind of medicated assisted treatment in an outpatient setting. There's no doctor services, what you're referring to. We do counseling, individual counseling with our substance abuse counselors. We do have therapists on site, and they do therapy with them. Any types of higher level of care, day program, partial, or inpatient would be referred to either our location out in Upland or any other county services that might be available to them. Yeah.
And you have another facility in Upland?
We operate 2 other facilities. We have a 150-bed residential facility in the city of Upland. And we have another outpatient clinic in the city of Upland on Mountain Avenue, where we service approximately 100 persons on an outpatient basis. We also do perinatal services out there, so that's specific for moms with their children or pregnant. This clinic is the one that services the youth, 12 to 17, and we also service adults at this clinic.
So pretty much it's counseling
Correct.
and referrals. They
Correct.
come in, are they referred to you?
We
by,
do.
By who?
We have several different referral types. The County of San Bernardino has what they call an assessment center in I want to say Gilbert Street, where they'll assess and refer for educational classes and counseling services. We get some referrals from the juvenile courts, from the adult courts. We also get people that walk in. We get a lot of people that just walk in and that really need our services. Of course, based on that location, you know, we tend to get a lot of walk-ins.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Through the
If
chair,
I
I
might-
have a question. Do you do any medicating or issue any prescriptions at these locations?
Not at this particular location, no. We don't do any kind of, they call it Medicaid, it's MAT, medicated assisted treatment, and we don't do MAT services at this location, no.
Do you do it at the location next door for the adults?
No, not in an outpatient setting. We only do medicated assisted treatment in our inpatient in Upland.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, this is actually a reestablishment of a conditional use permit granted by the Commission a little over 3 years ago. Unfortunately, because this is a nonprofit client, funding did not materialize in the manner that was hoped for, and funding has recently become available again. However, the 3-year time limit on the original grant in 2014 had expired by that point, so we're essentially coming back through the system for a second time.
Commissioners, just to reiterate on the noticing, all the property owners were noticed. None of the tenants were actually noticed, but the property owners were the ones to be noticed.
And we are in support of the staff report.
Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this item? Mr. Christopher.
That's me.
Oh, you're Mr. Christopher, okay.
And the other one would be Tina.
All right. Yeah, Mr. Martina Hughes. Okay. All right, then we have Charlena Fairley.
Hello, I live at 964 North Arrowhead in San Bernardino, and I'm one of the property owners in that area. And looking at the people around here, basically none of you live in that area. So even though they talk very good about this and talk it up, people are going to be people. People like this, they get familiar with the area and they start walking in the area. I've been robbed several times by somebody. And this area, you go outside, water your yard, you see people that look like they're zonked out, walking the streets. The property value in our area is going down. We can't sell our house for too much of anything because of this. When people look at houses, they look at the area and what's in the area. And this keeps coming to our area. And it just bombards our area. People don't really care about it because they're not in that area. And the people that are in that area are getting tired of being bombarded by things that they don't want in their area. But people are nonprofits, so let them go there. It's cheap enough for them. And it's not in our area. They don't think about the people that live in that area, nor do they care. Let's just be truthful. They're making money off of these people and don't care about nobody else. That area is, I live there. I like where I live. I like my house. The people walk up and down the street that live in that area are nice. But there's so many more people in that area. They push baskets up and down there. It's just young people. And there's so many primary schools in that area. Why would you want to put something like that in that area? More of it when it's already there. And you have all these children looking at this. There's streetwalkers there. Cops can't handle all of this in this little area. They go to other areas. They don't want to be there. Let's be truthful. That area, and it's right down the street from the police department. Not saying that the police department don't do their job. We hear the cop cars all the time. We get tired of hearing the cop cars trying to catch these people. Put it somewhere else, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments from anyone?
I have a question. In regards to the establishment of this second facility that the applicant is trying to implement here on D Street, have you guys listened to any of the concerns or sort of did anything to sort of circumvent any of these proposed incidents that may occur from having these young adolescents in the area to receive these services and the negative impact it may embark upon the nearby residents within that proximity?
We've tried to design the facility in a way that would have a minimum of impact, including making sure there's complete fencing and walling off of the parking lot behind. I also think that the inclusion of these services in the community is also a benefit, in addition to being sometimes considered a detriment by the neighbors. These services are important to the local community, and particularly to the youth community that's there. And the lady mentioned a number of elementary schools and other educational facilities in the area. It also represents a significant investment on the part of Inland Valley Recovery Services in terms of renovating the building, completely rebuilding the parking lot, adding new fencing along the street, rebuilding the curb and gutter and sidewalk along D Street, such that the look and feel of the building will be much different than what it is today. So I would urge you to support the social service venture in this location and continue to help the community grow and prosper. Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
It's not clear to me how this business will operate. Are the clients going to be there full time, or do they come and go?
The clients are not resident in the facility. They come and go as any medical facility would be operated, so that patients will come for a counseling session, patients will come for a group service session, they will come to be assessed and referred. So their time on site is probably a couple of hours at most, and then they would move on to a different location.
We find that we have a better success rate of their retention and their attendance when we go pick them up. So we have a full-time driver that goes and picks them up for their services, either from school or from their home. And then when they're done with services, we transport them back home, or an adult or the adult or the parent responsible for them brings them, drops them off, and picks them back up again. So they're supervised at all times.
So they're
will that be? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, they won't be contributing then to the people who walk the streets.
They shouldn't be, no, because we don't allow the adolescent population to be going back and forth on their own, no. It's a safety issue.
Yeah, that was exactly my same question.
Correct.
Are all of the children ages 12 through 18 required to have transportation to and from, or is that a service that you guys will exclusively provide to every single participant within the program, so there won't be an issue of patients walking to and from and around the proximity of the area disturbing the residents in the area?
With the adolescent population, yes, they are transported, or they're picked up and brought and taken home, or their parents will bring them and take them home. This particular program, we encourage the parents to be actively participating, because that increases the success of the program. So the more involvement the parents have, the better. But of course, we have adolescents that just have absent parents, but those ones also don't have transportation, so we pick them up and take them home.
So that if the parents are delinquent in picking up their children, is there a likelihood their children are going to hang around the parking lot or walk the neighborhoods?
No. No,
Okay.
because that's the same. We would take them home. we would reach out to the parents. If the parents don't pick them up, they typically work with our activities coordinator or one of the other counselors or a case manager, and we'll transport them back to their living environment.
Okay. To address the statement the young lady made, the services you're providing for the adult sector or the older people,
Correct.
do they have some sort of transportation in and out, or do they just wander in and wander out when they want to?
They come in different modes of transportation. So they do come walk. They also drive, or they'll take the bus. We provide bus passes for them so they can get where they need to go and return, so they're not loitering around. We have the services or that facility monitored from the time we open until the time we close, and so we're moving them along or getting them where they need to go quickly. Of course, we also take the ones that are walking with their shopping cart. They might not necessarily be there seeking our services, but of course they know that's a safe place to go. And so we have case managers on site that will help them to try to either locate a stable place to sleep, and or some other types of social services that might be needed in the community. So we collaborate with a number of different organizations, whether it be for housing or other services, or getting them to the hospital if that's what they need, because we've had that happen before. I can say that a half a block down the street, there is an inpatient facility that has, approximately 45 people there, and there's a couple other organizations as well. So I can't say, if they leave their facility, they may come down to ours because they know ours is a safe place, at least for the day. And they can use the phone, they can talk to a therapist or a counselor, and they can get some case management and some referrals to either a safe place or even just pick up bus passes so they can get where they need to go.
Okay, one more question.
Sure.
Do you, how many people do you see a day or a week, or how do you gauge that?
In a combination in adults and
Yes,
youth?
in the adult part.
Currently, and we are enrolled, I would say we probably have about 60 adults enrolled, maybe a little bit more. They don't all come at one time, and they don't all come at the same time. So that's staggered throughout the week for services. So they'll come for an hour-and-a-half group, or they'll come for a 60-minute individual session, and then they leave the services. So 60, 75 adults, and approximately 25 to 30 youth.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, could I ask a question as well? Come back. Earlier, you said that most of the youth come in were walk-ins. What's your definition of walk-in? Are they walk-ins, or are they being driven in?
Oh, okay. Walk-ins meaning, when I use the term walk-in, I mean like they come in on their own. They don't have a referral. Somebody's not sending them to us. They're coming on their own. I don't mean literally walking in off the street. They will drive in. A youth comes in for their first services. It's usually their parents are bringing them because they're giving us consent to serve them. They don't literally walk in off the street.
Okay,
yes.
I want to clarify that. And then they
Yes.
just, how does that work? Anybody can just come in, or do they have to be referred from somewhere else?
Actually, we have a number of contracts and funding services. So anybody that is seeking substance abuse services or needs our types of services, whether they have Medi-Cal, they have private health insurance, we have specific contracts. We have some enrichment services. We have MOUs with the San Bernardino Unified School District. And so they might be referred through that mechanism as well. But, any of us could have an adolescent or a teenager that might be struggling, and we can service that person, regardless of their funding or referral source.
Okay, thank you.
We try to say no wrong door, so if anybody comes, we're going to find a mechanism or a way to service them to the best of our ability.
So when you close, if there's anybody there, what happens?
Oh.
Outside the gate, or actually home? Transportation home?
Yes.
Or,
state your name.
My name is Ronald Jackson. Say, for instance, the youth group is over, and say their parent can't come pick them up. We'll allow them to make a phone call, and if the parent still can't come get them, we'll refer it over to our driver, and we will call our driver, or we usually have a driver on site. And could you please take these children home? That's how it's done. And normally, when the group is over, those children do not go out. If they're under 17, they do not go outside. They stay within the building until their right come. They do not loiter outside. Okay?
Thank you.
Just one last question. The adult services, it has been operating, how long has it been operating?
I believe it's about 4 years now. 6 years.
6 years at that location?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any type of follow-up we would be able to do in regards to the approval of this permit if we were to approve it, to see down the line if it's causing any sort of reduction in quality of life to the residents in the area? Is there a way we can like go back and revisit that, or provide some sort of like oversight in that process in that regard? Or
Yes, Commissioner. Planning Division Condition Number 6 states within 6 months from the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for a period of 2 years, the Planning Division shall conduct an inspection of the business operations and properly to ensure the compliance with the conditions of approval to the satisfaction of the Community Development Director.
I would like to see that verbiage added if possible, because as of right now, I don't think I would be able to support this in its current condition.
Yes, it is a condition, Planning Division Condition Number 6 in the resolution.
Oh, excellent.
Yes,
So
sir.
this is being addressed?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you for the clarification.
You're very welcome, sir.
Appreciate that.
If I may, Chair, I think based upon some of the comments that we've heard this evening, I've written out a couple of additional conditions that may address some of those concerns. Condition, and this is in no particular order, but just planning conditions now stop at number 20. I would suggest condition 21 be added, that minors shall be supervised at all times, and transportation to and from the property shall be by a parent or guardian or staff of the operator. That would be condition 21. 22 would be that no medical intervention services shall be provided on the property, consistent with what they've said. Condition 23 would be that no residential or overnight services shall be provided on the property. Condition number 24 would be the maximum number of patients at the facility shall be limited to 40 patients per day, again based upon what they've indicated. And then condition 25, that there shall be no loitering in the parking lot. And I think that would address some of the concerns that were raised. We do also, in addition to the condition that Mike noted regarding the 2-year review, the purpose of a conditional use permit is to, as the Commission is considering tonight, putting conditions on the operation. And if the operation does become a nuisance for the neighborhood, the Planning Commission can always review the condition and potentially revoke the conditional use permit if this does become an issue. There is a clearly defined process in the development code. So the city always, even beyond that 2-year period, always retains the right to reopen and potentially revoke a conditional use permit.
Thank you for the clarification.
The Chair, I have one more question of staff, perhaps. I'm looking at the zoning here, commercial office zoning, and I know without a doubt that you've already looked at that, and that coincides with what type of operation is here. But to me, I would think you would have a different zoning for this type of operation, more along the medical type zoning or something of that nature.
The commercial office is zoned for administrative and professional applicability in projects, so it actually would be applicable to the zone.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
And if I may add, medical offices and dental offices and those sorts are also allowed in that same zone, commercial office zone.
I have a question. Where, maybe it's for staff, is who would she go to, the lady who spoke, in 6 months to share her experience, what she's from this operation?
There's two avenues. One is through myself or the planning division, and then we do have code enforcement staff. And one of the functions that they do is if there are nuisances within the neighborhood, then they would go out and they would investigate and determine whether or not the conditions have been violated or not.
So is that a phone number she would call for code enforcement? Is that how that works?
It would just be the regular City Hall number. We've got one number for all City Hall services, and the call center, the staff in the call center are very adept at directing people to the right departments.
Thank you.
I would have one question of the applicant. If they've heard the added conditions, are they amenable or agreeable with those added conditions?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I would like to make a motion approving resolution number 2017-072, adopting the categorical exemption and approving conditional use permit 17-20, based on the findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval, also including the new conditions as stated by Director Persico.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
I hear two noes.
That the motion does pass. It is a majority of the members in attendance on a conditional use permit. So I would also like to point out for the people here this evening and anybody, there is an appeal process. Any action of, and I'll let Stephen do the legal disclaimers. But there is an appeal process where anybody can appeal the decision of the Planning Commission.
And I would simply direct any interested party to the relevant provisions of the Development Code. If you are interested in filing an appeal, you can ask for a copy of the form from the Community Development Department at the counter during normal business hours.
That concludes our public hearing. Anyone who wishes to leave may do so now. We'll be taking up other matters. Pardon? Yes, public comments. Would you like to make your comments now? Okay.
Hank Mitchell, Verdamont. I'd like to go back to the last time I was here, and we talked about an off-road trip that I took Mr. Persico and Mr. Muika and Jim Tickmeyer on up in Verdamont. There's going to be a lot of projects going on up there, and again, I want to offer to you, anytime you'd like to go up there, remember the Browns rules, we can only have 3 of you at a time. However, I have another gentleman here, Ray Blum, who has an off-road Ranger who will be glad to work with us and take you up there if you'd like to see anything of a project that's really not accessible by the roads, or you want to know something about history or any of that on site. My invitation is still standing, and Mr. Persico and Mr. Muika can give you the contact for me, but feel free to Hey, I'm retired now. I'm bored. Come on up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Planning Commission reports and announcements. How about a director's report?
Yes, thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I think the only item I have this evening, Melina is going to pass out the major projects list. I did send out copies, electronic copies, a little bit earlier today, but for people who want actual hard copies, they are available. And then, as always, they are posted on the website. I know that Hank and Ray just left, but we do like to get this distributed as widely as possible. I think it's helpful for people in the community to know what's happening within the department. So if you know of anybody that would be interested, you can certainly send them to our website. And that concludes my report.
All right. I think that brings us to adjournment. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
Motion is approved.